Welcome back to Mornings with Dave King and Matt Martin. We are broadcasting from the Thacker Jewelry Studios. We want to welcome Curtis Parrish, the county judge, Lubbock County judge. We've got Curtis Parrish on the phone. Judge Parrish, how are you feeling? I know that you had COVID-19. Have you all recovered?
Thank you, Matthew. Good to see you. Good morning. Good morning, David.
Hey, good morning, Curtis.
I'm 4 weeks COVID free, so I feel
excellent.
Pretty good. No lingering effects. I'm still, I think smell and taste are kind of still one of those things that's still yet to fully engage back. But other than that, we're at work. We're doing fine. Brenda and I are just motoring along. Christmas was good, and we're just continuing to serve the county.
That's great.
Well, Curtis, you apparently had a pretty mild case. Is that correct?
Yeah, it was mild. There was about 3 or 4 days, I would say, that was not very mild, or at least more like the flu-like symptoms, fever, chills, those kind of things.
Yeah. Well, has your family avoided it?
Yes. I mean,
that's
it was
good.
Well, Brenda and I got it at the same time, so we were able to quarantine and isolate together during the 2 weeks. So
that's a good news, bad news, isn't it?
No, it was all good news. It was great not having to be in, 2 separate sides of the house kind of thing.
Yeah.
So,
well, poor old Matt, he was isolated all by himself in the back bedroom.
I know.
And he hasn't recovered from that yet.
But, my family didn't get it, though.
It's made him a little goofy.
That's important. No, we kept all of our other family members safe. Of course, we're always concerned about our mothers. My mother's in a nursing home here in Lubbock. Brenda's mother is also in a nursing home, a memory care center here in Lubbock as well. And so we're constantly concerned about them. My mother caught COVID, but her, like me, her symptoms were mild, if any at all. Which was pretty amazing, to be in a nursing home, to be, 85 plus years old, and not have COVID affect you directly like that. And many of our friends, many of the people that we love very much, were not that way. In fact, as y'all have reported on, we lost our district court judge Ruben Reyes to COVID.
Yeah,
and that was very sad around here. He was very well loved and well liked, obviously, a great judge, and we still grieve the fact that he's not around anymore. Still grieve.
Well,
that.
Curtis, we're looking at the stats. This is a good time to bring this up. City of Lubbock confirmed 107 new cases yesterday, as of 4 p.m. Whoops, that's Sunday.
Yeah.
Whoops, I'm a day off.
That's okay.
But there was several deaths reported yesterday.
Yeah,
14. Yeah,
we had 14 yesterday.
So that was a surprise, because we have been trending the other direction, and I think I just commented yesterday when we talked about the deaths about how it seemed that we were trending down, and perhaps that the new the meds that we are treating people with seem to be working. But then boom,
and let's. Please understand the thing about some of these numbers, especially numbers after a weekend. There are a lot of reporting centers that will hold numbers until the next kind of business day kind of thing. So we tend to kind of pile up at the beginning of the week, and that's why our weekend numbers seem to be down. Not just that people aren't testing as often on the weekend; they're just not being reported as often. Our death rates for COVID kind of run about the same. Well, we do have some folks that don't report over the weekend, and they'll report what happened over the weekend on a Monday. Plus, also remember, it was a holiday weekend as well. So we had Christmas Eve on Thursday, Christmas Day on Friday, and plus a Saturday and Sunday. So there was a little bit of backlog. But given all together, we do see the death rate starting to trend downward, which is very good news. I will say that's the one aspect.
What do you attribute that to, Curtis?
Well, I attribute it, one, to I think we're starting to see the curve flatten, if not lower, and that's a good thing. I think we're seeing more people that are catching COVID that are not as serious as those, and we're keeping our nursing homes relatively safe and we're keeping our old ones relatively safe. Most of our deaths are happening in our older population. I mean, that's just they are the most vulnerable. And I would say of all the trends that I'm following, especially here as county judge, we're following the death rate very closely. One of the things that I oversee as county judge is our medical examiner's office. And so we want to make sure that we here in Lubbock and Lubbock County are prepared for any surge that happens in the death rate. My counterparts in El Paso and Amarillo and other parts of the state were not as prepared as we were. But with our medical examiner, Charles Addington, with other folks around, we were ready here in Lubbock. And so our surge capacity is very good here, to a point where we were able then to release one of our resources, these morgue trailers, that I know you've seen on the news that we've talked about. We were able to release the one here in Lubbock and send it to our neighbors to help them out.
Let me jump in here and ask, there's something that we run across on this show all the time. There are many people who believe that the actual numbers, in other words, there are people who are dying from a heart attack that they say they're dying of COVID. And for reasons I don't fully understand, but there is a large number of people who believe that and do not believe that all of these deaths that are reported as COVID are actually died of COVID. Can you address that?
Sure. First of all, it's sort of everybody dies because your heart stops. So you could say, coronary arrest is the reason for every death. The question becomes, what caused that? If you are COVID positive and you succumb to that, then you have succumbed by COVID. It is a part of the disease that if you did not have COVID, you would have survived. Something else, granted, we still have deaths in Lubbock County. We've always had people die, but even before COVID and even after COVID, we'll still have people pass away. That's part of life and death here in Lubbock County. However, when we examine and when each death, if you are on a ventilator in an ICU unit and you pass away, you have passed from COVID. And so those are the numbers that are being reported. They are very accurate. I will say the death count is very accurate. Those who are either under a hospice care or in the hospital, those are the ones that are being reported, and those are very accurate.
So do the hospitals, I don't know, but this is, again, what's been reported as far as that's concerned, and you may or may not know this, but do the hospitals get any type of extra subsidies or anything if it's a COVID death versus another type of death?
No. And no, it's not just, it is not. And I really want to debunk that myth, or at least those rumors that are out there. There is not an extra premium, an extra amount of money that's given just because the ME signs COVID on the death certificate, or the doctor, the attending physician, signs COVID related on the death certificate. No, there is no extra money for that. But what we are seeing, and you can see the trends, we have had more people die in Lubbock County in these last 9 months, than have, really ever in the history of Lubbock County. Now, we are growing. We are a growing county, and therefore we have more births and we have more deaths. But this trend is very high, and it's hitting our most vulnerable, our old ones. We talked about Judge Reyes passing away. He was 56. So we do see some in the younger ages who are passing, but most of our deaths, the vast majority of our deaths, are happening in the 70, 80, 90-year-olds. Those are we're losing that generation. We're losing those folks in a rate that's very unacceptable to me.
Curtis, we have to take a quick break. We're talking to Curtis Parrish, the Lubbock County Judge, and we'll take a quick break and be right back. Welcome back to Mornings with Dave King and Matt Martin. We want to go directly back to the phones. We've got Lubbock County Judge Curtis Parrish on the phone, and we've been talking a little bit about COVID-19. Curtis, in the same regard, I kind of want to talk about deaths, but I want to ask about the murder rate, and I know that you're over the whole county, not necessarily just Lubbock, but the homicide rate would be a better word to use probably, has gone up drastically, even doubled in Lubbock over the last year. Do you think this has something to do with people being in their homes and COVID, or does this have to do with Lubbock expanding, drugs? What's causing all of this?
You would just have to probably check all of the boxes above. Yes, we are a growing county, and therefore we have the growing county issues. I do know that many of our homicides are, when I say many, let me take that back. Some of our homicides are domestic related. We know that. In fact, if you looked at our homicide trends over the last, say, 10 and even 15 years, you would see that the majority of our homicides have a domestic relationship to them. But we're also seeing an increase in drug traffic. We've got some incredible men and women who are on the streets with our sheriff's department, our city, our DPS, who are on the streets right now fighting this drug trafficking. Lubbock is a hub city. And so a lot of the drug traffic that comes from Mexico comes through Lubbock to points north and east of the United States. Also, remember that if the drugs go that way, up in north and east, they come back through here. The money also comes back through here. So we kind of get it on both ends of the traffic. And so I really commend the men and women of our law enforcement who are out there on a daily basis fighting the drug traffic, the gang-related crimes that we're seeing. So we're seeing an increase in that. I don't know if you could put a finger on it and say this death was because of COVID and isolation. I'm not sure you can do that as much, but I do know that the crime rate, the homicide rate is very concerning.
So we have a couple minutes left in this segment. What about the child abuse and stuff like that, domestic abuse? Have we seen a rise in that, or because the kids aren't necessarily going to school as much, are we not catching that?
Well, it kind of depends on who you talk to. I know early on we had quite a downturn in reports, and that was because the kids were not in school. Schools are a very good place for teachers, for school nurses, for administrators to see a child on a day-to-day basis and see any changes in that child and be able to pick up and notice if there's any abuse going on. As our kids get back to school, it's likely we're going to see the reporting go on. I've been told, and I've had meetings with folks who are saying the child abuse is still there. It's just not being reported as often, and that is also very concerning. So we continue to monitor that. We also continue to ask folks to be more aware. Keep in touch with your neighbors. Keep in touch with those around you. Look, open your eyes. If you see something, report something, and don't just dismiss it. You could help a child who is very much in trouble, and even in some elder abuse stuff. We've probably seen some decrease in that, although I'm being told that is still occurring as well. So we've got our elderly ones who are in homes that are being neglected, maybe because of COVID, but maybe just because this is. What I'm saying is we're not seeing the reporting as much, maybe because of COVID, but maybe because of other things. So we just remind people to keep your eyes open. If you need help, there is help available. Do not attempt to go through this alone. There are resources in our community that are available to help you.
All right. Curtis Parrish, Lubbock County Judge. We do have to take a quick break. Can you come back after the break, talk about some county business?
Sure can.
All right. We'll be right back with Lubbock County Judge Curtis Parrish on News Talk 95.1 FM, 790 AM, KFYO Mornings with Dave King and Matt Martin. Welcome back to Mornings with Dave King and Matt Martin. We've got Judge Curtis Parrish on the phone, but before we do that, Dave, did you want to tell us a little bit about Milo?
Well, I always love to talk about Milo. It's one of my very favorite things, and we're talking about Milo insulation that goes in your attic. And by the way, if you didn't know, it's made from Milo sorghum right here in West Texas. Now they don't blow Milo sorghum in your attic. The mice and the bugs would have a field day if that were the case. No. This Milo is compressed. It's heated, super hot, and compressed and squeezed. What you need to do, if you are just having heating and cooling dollars that just go through the roof, call or visit miloinsulation.com and schedule your free attic inspection today. Now, they'll come out. They'll go up in your ears. So go to miloinsulation.com and get your free attic inspection today. That's miloinsulation.com. Hey, and is Curtis still on the line, I hope?
Yes. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Well, Curtis, I just wanted to see, you and I go back a long ways. And
yes, sir.
Maybe, you're in a position of power right now. And I don't know, maybe you have got an extra vial of vaccines laying around somewhere that I could use. And, I just run that by you.
Well, what I do know is that I know we just heard a news report that the vaccine's being distributed around the nation, and then there are some that are hoarding it and holding it back and not giving it to the ones who are our frontline workers. That is not the case in Lubbock. I can tell you for an absolute fact that the doses that have been distributed to us here in Lubbock are going in people's arms. As a matter of fact, had a meeting yesterday with the health department as well, talking about the plan. They were at the Civic Center, and every single dose that we have will go into somebody's arm.
My wife has one. She's already had her first dose.
Yeah, and your wife's a nurse, is that right?
Yes.
Yeah, and that's right. So we're targeting our tier 1 is our frontline workers, our nurses, those type of folks. Those who work also we're going to see in nursing homes. We talked earlier about nursing homes.
Curtis, yes, I'm one of those old people that has a lot of health concerns.
Yeah.
So, where do I fall? Where's the line that I go get into to get my shot?
Well, unfortunately, David, you're a radio host. So, and looking at the tier 1, criteria, radio host is pretty far down. But I will say those who are in nursing homes, those who are currently residents of nursing homes, will be soon getting the vaccines as well.
Now, from what I've read, Texas is doing it a little different than the CDC is asking. They've got a 1A, 1B system,
correct,
and 1A is your nursing homes and your hospital working staff.
That's
and
right.
Then 1B is actually 65 and older, and those
correct,
with pre-existing conditions that could cause COVID to be more deadly.
That is correct.
So Dave would actually be in 1B. Is there any timeline that before those people will start seeing the vaccine coming to them?
We will be dosing our allotment to that Tier 1A group. When we get the next allotment that comes from the federal government / state, we will start working on the next tier. So I'm very pleased with the system that we. Plus, also remember these are double doses, so there is a tracking that needs to happen too, and I'm very pleased with the tracking system that we have, making sure that the doses, that the vaccine goes into the arms of the people who need it.
Yeah. When you get your first shot, you've got to be scheduled to come back.
That's
what is
correct.
it, 30 days, and get your second shot.
It's 21 days.
Yeah. Yeah,
21 days.
We had 2 to 3 weeks. Yes, sir.
Yeah. Okay. Well, Curtis, we've let's talk about county business. What is up with the county business right now? What are you working on?
As most folks and most businesses, we've got Christmas holiday, New Year's holiday to deal with. Yesterday we had a commissioners court meeting where we just kind of took care of some regular business, kind of the year-end business, kind of wrapping some things up as far as the calendar year goes. One thing, though, yesterday we had a report from our HR department about how COVID has affected county government. And there was a report given by our HR department that we have lost over 30,000 hours of work time directly because of COVID. And that is those who were sick, those who were quarantining because they had close contact with someone who was COVID positive. So 30,000 hours. And if you look at $15 to $20 an hour, that's kind of a minimum kind of a wage. We're looking at somewhere around $600,000 that Lubbock County has lost because of COVID. We've been able to do lots of workarounds, and we've been able to gear up. I cannot thank our department directors enough for the job that they have done in still maintaining county government. We did not have one day of shutdown with county government during this COVID crisis. We had a lot of employees continue to work from home, and so our IT department really stepped up and made sure that those workers, the clerks, the office staff who could work from home did work from home, and everybody, top to bottom in Lubbock County, worked really hard. Of course, COVID kind of hit our detention center and hit our juvenile justice center, and I can't thank the folks out there enough. They have really stepped up in making sure that we would see an outbreak, contain it, isolate it, so that it would not spread through the entire detention center or to the entire juvenile justice center. They've done a remarkable job, and I think I just can't thank them enough for the work that they've done over the last 9 months in fighting and combating this pandemic.
Okay, Curtis, we do have to take one more quick break. Do you want to hold over one more time?
Yes, I can.
All right. It's News Talk 95.1 FM, 790 AM KFYO. We're talking to Curtis Parrish, the Lubbock County Judge. Welcome back to Mornings with Dave King and Matt Martin. We've got County Judge Curtis Parrish, and we want to use the time we can to go over things with you, Curtis. And
yes, sir.
Just there's a lot going on. I know that as far as the county detention, are there any worries? Because I know that the Washington didn't come through for our small businesses as far as this is concerned, and I don't know exactly what everything is with the counties, but are there any concerns about COVID-19 lawsuits from maybe the prisoners or people who are working at the county, things like that?
You can't stop people from filing suit. Right now, we're not. We don't have any lawsuits. Of course, there are some that are complaining, and we see that every day at the detention center for one reason or another. Maybe they just don't like the temperature of the food, or there's something, and that happens. It's the cost of running a jail, a 1,300 prisoner jail that we run. You're going to have issues. What I'm very proud of, though, is our sheriff's department, Sheriff Kelly Rowe, our Chief Cody Scott, are really on top of all that, and we run. It's the gold standard of jails. There's a lot of folks from all over the state that come to Lubbock to see how do you do it here, because you are doing it right. So I know that there might be, possibly will be, who knows, but we will deal with them when we get them.
Yeah. So the other thing is that
we have a texter this morning that says, does the judge think local elected officials' actions during the pandemic matter in their next race?
Well, I think we don't get to decide what matters in elections. The voters get to decide that. I will say from my part and from the elected officials that I work with, our county commissioners, we have done all of the reasonable, sensible things in combating this pandemic. Again, I think one of my first priorities as county judge was to make sure that we remained open, that county services remained for the people. They depend on governmental services. All those governmental services remained. That was one of my top priorities, and for that I feel very successful. It wasn't just my success, but it was the success of all the department directors and all of the employees of Lubbock County who are dedicated servants. They wanted to make sure that county government remained operational, and it did.
Yeah. So, Curtis, is there anything else that you want to get out there before we run out of time?
Well, I just want to wish everybody a Happy New Year. This has been, by all indications, a very weird year, don't you think?
Yeah, it has.
And I think there's a lot of folks that are really looking forward to the calendar flipping over to 2021. And we pray in earnest that this virus is removed from us. But we pray for all of those who have suffered and are still suffering. You know, as county judge, I'm also the probate judge and guardianship judge, and I've seen a lot of our probates come through with loved ones who have died because of this COVID, and I've seen firsthand from those family members the impact that COVID has had. You know, I've seen folks come in to probate their loved one's estate, and it's maybe a husband and wife that died within days of each other because of COVID, and it's heartbreaking. And so our prayers continue to go out for them, and we are earnestly praying that God will remove this horrible disease from us. It is taking our most vulnerable, and I just can't express enough sadness and remorse for that, and how grieving I am for the families that are going through this. And I pray that those families who are grieving, that they be comforted, and I pray that we as government officials do whatever we can to help them and to make sure that this disease does not spread anymore and does not take any more lives.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you, Curtis, that's well spoken. I saw someone said the other day that they were going to be up late New Year's Eve, not to welcome in 2021, but to make sure that 2020 left.
Yeah, there certainly is that. That is absolutely for sure.
Yeah. Well, we always love it when you call and you bring us up to speed on everything. We have a lot of text messages that we simply are not going to have time to get to today, Curtis. But
well, I would love to be able to answer all I can. So maybe a time we can come on and we'll just take listeners' calls and texts.
All right. Yeah. Sounds good, Curtis. Thank you for coming on. Judge Curtis Parrish from Lubbock County.